so the boat had to turn back. Then it set off again. When it got to the dock here in Australia, Australian Customs had decided to change over their computer system. Sat on the dock for a while, just sitting there. Let's not put that book into shops yet. And then they started unpacking the ship from the other end, and they promised they would.
So everyone's lucky to actually have a copy of it today.
I was about to cancel, but we did drag it off the boat to get it here just in time.
That's quite a cute story. I like that. Everyone's books has been through a typhoon.
They have. If anyone's got a soggy book, really sorry.
Now tell us a bit about it. You know, the title, does that refer to the chapters, to anything in the book?
Yeah, there's 3 main chapters, fast, fresh and simple, and I guess it's a little bit of a reflection on how I like to cook at the moment, well, always. The fast chapter is for getting dinner on the table, whether it's Tuesday night or whether you've got friends over and you're in a hurry like I always am. So getting really nice, fresh ingredients, really simply combined, you know, 1 fry pan, 1 pot. Everyone knows I don't love to wash up. So on the table really quickly.
I think everything you just said has described everybody here.
And then the fresh chapter is looking at things like classic recipes that you might really love and either lightening them up or making them easier. So there's things like a creme brulee, which is delicious, but let's face it, I have to consume 700 billion times more food in a year than every average person because we have a test kitchen. So what I've done to save myself from running 700 kilometres every day is lightened up some of those recipes so you can enjoy them more often and fresh. So for example, we've got whipped cream with whipped yogurt and creme brulee. So it's just lighter, it's easier, you don't have to bake a custard, wait till it sets, all that palaver. So I've just basically gone through all my favourite classics, fasten them up, lighten them up, had a little bit of a makeover.
That's the best because, let's face it, nobody has time to have to worry about working everything off all the time.
Exactly.
So you can taste,
you can enjoy it.
Taste good and you don't have to run for 10Ks every day.
Exactly.
That's the best. Now tell us, how long does it take to write the cookbook, experiment, put all the recipes together?
Well, I always start with the books by things that I cook at home. So you can imagine how many people I have over for dinner in the course of, you know, a couple of weeks. That weighs at my house. So I start jotting them down from home, and then when I get into serious book mode, I go back into the test kitchen, push a couple of the magazine guys aside, try and find a spot in the kitchen, and then I go full on. So it takes about, on and off about 6 months. The photography is the biggest bit.
I was going to say, do any ever get knocked back because they're not a pretty looking dish?
Totally. I always say to the guys at work, especially on the magazine, you know, are you going to style that for me? Because I always think that, you know, it's fine to sell books and magazines with lots of recipes in them, but if people don't cook out of them, I think it's a, you know, it's a failure. So I always think that if you're going to look at a recipe and your mouth starts to water, then you go to the ingredients list and go, oh, I've got some of that at home, I can get some of that at the supermarket, then I'm going to encourage you to cook. And that's what I've always been about, is getting home cooks to cook. So yeah, some of the ones that taste great look really ugly, unless we can fix them.
What is the secret to making it look good? Because yours always looks like art on a plate. And I have to say, mine never looks...
Doesn't it?
No, never.
Oh, come on, it must. You know what? We don't use any tricks or anything. We use daylight photography, so there's no hot lights and things around. But, you know, if I'm just doing a really simple Caesar salad like what's on the cover, I just soak the lettuce in cold water with ice. I just get onto it and do it really quickly. Don't use any tricks or hairspray or any of those things that people think we use. And actually, the photographer on the book, who's a very good friend of mine, William, he's still not speaking to me because over the 4 months it took to photograph the book, he put on 10 kilos because he ate everything.
It is a dangerous industry to be in.
Totally.
Where did your love of food come from?
I was always one of those geeky little kids in the kitchen. I have 2 older sisters, and my mum used to let me cook in the kitchen whenever I wanted, like playtime. So I used to just think it was like real life mud pies. But she was pretty clever because I'd make heaps of mess. My sisters would be long gone, but they'd just leave me in there. And my mum would say, okay, look at all this mess. It's an absolute disaster. What are you going to do about it? And of course I'd be like, oh, you know, as a kid, cleaning up, not so much fun. She'd go, okay, if you cook dinner, I'll clean up everything. So she's pretty clever that way.
That is very clever. Yeah. And I think the minute it's not a chore, it's an enjoyable thing to do.
Absolutely.
But maybe that's just me.
No, totally.
So obviously summer's on the way, and everyone's going to start having barbecues, things like that. What would be your favourite salad dressing to put on a nice fresh summer salad?
Oh my goodness, my favourite. I have a couple that I spin out. But just recently I've been using buttermilk to make like a creamy dressing. Great thing about buttermilk is, I sound like I'm on a diet, but the great thing about buttermilk is it's really, really low in fat, but it's really creamy and it's got that nice acidity tang to it. So you can make like a ranch style dressing really quickly. So you just do buttermilk, a little bit of milk, a little bit of vinegar.
I might try that.
Yeah, it's really simple.
There's nothing wrong with the low-fat options these days, because you need to cut it where you can then.
Well, I always think food in moderation. You know, I'm the first one to dig into a chocolate fondant, but no, I don't do it every day. I just think you need to just balance out your life. I'm not about to give up anything.
Well, speaking of chocolate fondant, what would be your favourite Christmas dessert?
I don't know, Christmas dessert. Well, unfortunately, working on a magazine, you work so far out, I feel like I've eaten my whole life through Christmas, but we've really been on to looking at trifle this year and making it really modern and fresh and different. So we made this macaroon trifle. So we've got layers of crunchy vanilla macaroon.
Macaroon trifle, how good does that sound?
Oh, it's terrible. And you tell yourself at tasting, because there's, 9 trifles in front of you, that you're just going to have 1 spoonful.
Oh, no.
That didn't happen. Did not happen.
Well, with Christmas coming up, I don't know about everyone else, but the one thing I just can't get is crackle on my pork.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, there's only 2 things I think with crackle on pork, is that when you get your pork home, you have to leave it uncovered in the refrigerator to try and dry that skin out. So you've got to buy it ahead of time.
Never done that.
Yeah, so put it on a plate and just dry out the skin in the fridge. And then when you slice the rind, you have to slice it through, just put a little bit of salt on it. And then the real trick is actually turning your oven up as high as you can get it. So just the dial right around. And the best thing to do is really blast your pork crackle to start with. And once you see it all crispy and crackly and lovely and really hard and crunchy, then turn the heat right down to like 120 just to finish off the meat inside.
Okay.
So really high first and then turn it down.
Good, okay. I'll see how I go this year. And any other tips? What would be your best cooking tip in the kitchen, just full stop?
Oh my goodness. I always think I'm going to be super organised, but I'm terrible. I'm just always doing 100 things at once. But for Christmas, I really do stay up and make everything I can before the day. Because, kids come running at you, where's the batteries, where's this, I need this. So I try and make everything as much as I can, because I have quite a crazy Christmas. I like everyone to enjoy whatever they like. So my sisters like seafood, my parents like traditional Christmas, my brother-in-law likes something else, so I do everything, which is quite insane. But I do make the custard for the pudding the day before, and I try and get everything in the fridge that I can. Just because, it's always a crazy day.
I'm assuming you have to have Christmas every year.
Yeah, I have cooked Christmas lunch since I was 12, so I don't see that changing.
Next year you throw a spanner in the works and someone else is doing it. Go out on lunch. I like it. Now, of course, Donna's going to stick around and sign everybody's books, and for those of you that don't have a cookbook,